Yeah.
She's not
She took
So really, that is what causes, everybody's sort of, we often refer to it as the sticker shock because it's multiple years of inflation that happens in one shot. We sat there and we watched the market grow, but yet we didn't make any adjustments. And so when we do make those adjustments in this particular case, in this particular market, it was multiple years of fairly decent growth. And so that was sort of the process of the revaluation. We do break it down into land and buildings, and with the cost of product, of building products, we look at Marshall & Swift, which is it's a publication that just gives you cost of construction throughout the country, and you can make adjustments for location. And so that gave us an indication as to where our replacement costs were, because we do develop a replacement cost and depreciate it. So it wasn't just the land that we increased; we also increased building values also to account for the increase in labor cost and material cost. And really, and all of that is done because we're just following the way the law is written, that we value properties according to just value, and just value is market value. So as the market adjusts, we have to make adjustments to the valuations. And in this particular instance, it was many years of significant growth.
I have a little question, just
Sure.
so I understand what you're saying. So if somebody has a 80-year-old falling down log cabin on a highly desirable point or outcropping on Moosehead Lake, the valuation is going to go up, not because of the value of the building so much as the value of the shorefront property, I would assume.
Yeah, where we break it down into, a land and building, absolutely.
But I'm just saying the building, you're not looking at the building and saying, well, if somebody tore this building down, they could put up a nice new building, it'd be worth a lot more money. You don't do that calculation.
No.
Okay, good. I was just curious. You said something about replacement costs, and you don't.
We do. Well, we had to develop a replacement cost because we don't just look at it and say that's its value. We say, okay, we need to have some reasoning behind our valuations and be able to explain them to people. So we would take measurements of the building. So we also have taken into account its size. And then there's a replacement cost per square foot that we may use depending on what we are determining for quality. So we also have to understand construction practices and understand the difference between a seasonal camp built on post is going to have a different replacement cost per square foot than something built on a basement. But we developed that replacement cost and we depreciate it according to age and condition. So it is important to review the properties and have an understanding of what their condition is, because it's not just a replacement cost, it's a replacement cost that's then depreciated.
Okay.
Any other questions? I want to thank you for enlightening me on that each county has its own mill rate. I was under the impression that it was all one big mill rate for all the UT, but I like the aspect that it's different mill rates for different counties. That is a good clarification.
So I wonder how that mill rate is calculated.
So a portion of the mill rate for each county is shared. Okay, so it's gonna be, just kind of bear with me. So there's three parts for the mill rate for each county. We have the county services and the state services, which is what we call the services portion of the tax rate, and then the county tax. So anything that is related to county services or county tax uses just the valuation for that specific county. So in Somerset County, you're just using the total taxable value for the unorganized territory, just in Somerset County. And then the state services portion of the tax rate, you're using the total taxable value of all of the unorganized territory, all townships, all counties. So you take your county services tax rate and you add it with your state services tax rate. And then you round up to the nearest quarter mil. And that difference in the mill rate is your overlay. So in a municipality, if you get a range between, $5.50 and $5.75 when you get to PIP, but in the unorganized territory, the mill rate is just the rounding. Some counties it's a little bit more than others. So, and then you add in your county tax rate, again, just for the county value for the Somerset County, and that's how the tax rate is determined for each county in the unorganized territory. So the state services part of it, again, is used all of the value, taxable value for the unorganized territory. That tax rate stays consistent with each county. So this year it was $2.13. So of each tax rate in the unorganized territory, $2.13 is the state portion. So that's education, a little bit of LUBC, a little bit of property tax division, DHHS, forestry. I believe that's it. Oh, the fiscal administrator's office.
Everything but DOT, I assume.
Actually, that's it. There's just there's very little of the state agencies, if you consider all of them. There's no DEP, there's no IF&W. Maine Revenue Services is just, and just in the property tax division, it's just the employees that work in the unorganized territory. So we actually go even farther when we break down our time to the nearest 30 minutes. So there isn't one full-time employee that works 40 hours a week for the unorganized territory, because we all have other jobs and tasks that we do.
So when you say you round up to the nearest quarter point, is that just for the state?
So that includes
Tax
that's the
assessment?
services portion. So that would be the state services that we provide, which is the education, the
But
DHHS.
that's just for the state.
Nope, it's the state and the county.
And the county,
So
okay.
the county services.
What is the county service rate for Somerset County?
It is $1.95, and then the county tax is $1.43 for a tax rate of $5.69.
Can we put that in no language? So that
Yeah. Okay. So 0.00195 is for the county services.
And for the state, I mean, I'm really bad.
That's okay.
You figure out the value of all the state service across the whole UT,
Correct.
and you divide it by the number of acres in Somerset County?
The total valuation, the total taxable valuation
Okay.
for the unorganized territory, all counties.
So that's... Okay.
So if you
Tim, help me out here.
if you look at your packets, so this sheet is kind of like the second one in. This is not generated by Maine Revenue. This is generated by the State Department of Unorganized Territories. And Harold Jones, Chip Jones, who took Nancy's place after Nancy passed away doing it for years. So the bottom of that page basically shows you the breakdown of the state services that are provided to the UT. Fiscal administration, education, forest fire protection, general assistance, tax assessment, and LUPC. That totals almost $19 million. Of that $19 million, $16 million is toward education. But unfortunately, it's not prorated, so it's not based on how many schools or students are in Somerset County. What Lisa's saying is this number gets distributed and determined to be a mill rate, and that same mill rate is charged to each county based on that county's valuation. Somerset County, we're number one, baby, right? We have the highest valuation. So we pay the most for the state services, which in this system, the way it is, we pay the most for education, but we have the lowest amount of people that participate in education. How are you going to fix it? Change the legislature.
So, to get the Somerset County tax rate, I add up 1.43, 1.95, and 2.15.
2.13 or 1.2.
So you want just the services portion or the total tax rate?
Total tax rate.
Okay, so you would take your county services tax rate, 0.00195, and then you would add the state services, 0.00213, and that comes up to 0.00408, but you have to round up to the nearest quarter mil for the overlay. So the nearest quarter mil for the services portion would be 0.00425.
And the services portion, the two county things are, one is what we do for our county budget for all the money that we spend in the unorganized territory. That's what you call the county services.
Correct.
And then the second county thing is is the UT share of paying for the registry of deeds and the jail and everything else.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I know, you got me confused, because you said 2.5, but that's not what 1.95 and 2.13 add up to.
It's rounded up.
It's
to the nearest
rounded
quarter
up to
mil.
the nearest quarter mil. So if you round it up to so you would take 0.002, and then add the county tax portion, which is 0.00144.
So but you gave me three original numbers, one, a $1.43, a $1.95, and 2.13. I understand the numbers as for, that's more simple and it's per thousand. So that's where you're getting the 0.00.
Right.
Right.
So,
So let's start again with the math, okay?
Yeah.
So the county services portion is 0.00195.
right, so it's $1.95 per
Yep.
thousand.
Yep. And then the state portion is 0.00213.
Yeah,
So if you add those together, it's 0.00408. And then you have to round that up to the nearest quarter mil for our overlay.
I'm sorry, it's 0.00309 if you add those two together.
No, it's 408.
408, yeah.
Oh yeah, 408.
So you round up to 425?
Yep, correct. And then you add in the county tax portion, which is 0.00144.
Okay,
That gets us to 569.
Correct.
yeah, I get
We
it.
don't round it up anymore. We're done rounding.
We're done rounding.
All
We're
right,
done.
I got it, thank you.
So if I could just jump in here on an observation, and many of you that you approve the overlay of the county budget of usually around 1%, and municipal select boards can authorize up to a 5% overlay when they commit taxes, and so there's like options for you. My understanding, there's no option here because the computer automatically does it with that rounding.
Correct.
So.
But that's
in statute.
Right.
That's
So but
not the
here's the issue.
But there is an option based on the calculation.
Hold on, Pat. So here's my issue. The Somerset County budgets, the amount that had to be raised by taxation was $8.3 million this year. It was $8.1 million last year. So it only went up just a tiny bit. But your overlay was $245,000 based on that calculation you can't control. And so I would suggest to Maine Revenue or to the legislature that they've changed that system because the only increase to taxes for Somerset County's budgets this year was overlay. And so, I looked at all of them, we had the highest overlay. And so I'm not saying it's unfair because I hate saying that because everybody's telling you that it's not fair. But it's kind of a system that I don't know if I like. Because the overlay, where does the overlay go? It goes back to the
General.
the unorganized territory education fund.
so
So it does not go
So
to the
the
general
overlay
fund.
gets rolled into the following year's commitment.
Yeah,
or
it's used
2
it's
years.
for abatements
Right.
if necessary.
So there is a fund that the overlay goes into, and you kind of call it surplus or undesignated fund balance. You mentioned the education fund. Is that because education is the biggest part of the state services budget?
That's just
I
the
think that's-
name of the fund
Okay,
that
so
we use.
It may not
Yeah,
be completely
right.
So when Chip does his budget, they apply surplus. They apply undesignated fund balance to it. Because even though the budget is almost $19 million, by the time they take revenues on that, they're really only raising about $13 or $14 million.
Right.
So the last couple of years, they've applied $3.5 million. And when I say they, this must be the legislature that does this?
The
They
legislature
approve it.
approves it. Chip prepares
Chip,
it.
yeah.
Yep, and the legislature approves it. Correct.
So is there, and really, again, I know these are two different buildings, there's two different departments, you don't work for Chip, Chip doesn't work for you, but it's one of those things that it takes a while to get your head around. So is there a plan in process for the use of that surplus? Or do they just randomly come up with something that makes it not as bad?
That's a good question for Chip.
Okay. So Pat, did you have a question?
Well, it's called the Educational Service Fund. And it's gone from 6% in 2016 to 25% in 2023. So it's gone up substantially, the undesignated fund balance.
Okay. So again,
The question I had is they said the max is the 245, but in the calculation it says max overlay is 5%. So you could actually have, by statute, it looks like overlay up to 405,000.
so here's where I think I know the answer to this question. What our friends have done at Maine Revenue is they've taken a municipal tax sheet and reworked it to work their figures in.
Okay.
Because that's the way they understand it. So don't read this as
Don't read it as actual.
no, because this is. Ignore the number. The numbers are right.
It's what's known as legal fiction.
Auditors all my life and it never worked.
See, Pat, when we give you all that extra time down the basement, my goodness, all sorts of stuff. But no, this is a good question for Chip. So, thank you.
Any further questions?
I have some questions. Some questions that have come up here. People always complain about their taxes, and probably everyone here has it at one point or another. But people do complain that people don't pay their fair share of taxes. So I've heard people complain around here that certain organizations are exempt from taxation and things like that. So I guess one question I had is, do you happen to know, and we've got some information here about, it looks like I don't know where this list came from. Is it?
I generated that.
Okay. It looks like the state of Maine holds most of the property in the UT, and that's exempt, obviously, from taxation. But do you have any handle? I mean, as I understand, there's huge tracts of land up there that are subject to conservation easements. And do those pay any less taxes than similar tracts that don't have conservation easements on them?
So if they have a conservation easement and they're exempt from taxation, then they wouldn't pay any property tax.
Okay, so you have to look at. Well, conservation easements are usually imposed on privately held land that are not nonprofits, I would assume. Those privately held property that is not a nonprofit will still pay taxes on the property despite the conservation easement. Am I right on that?
Correct.
Okay. Did they have a reduced valuation because of the conservation easement? You know?
Do you have an example of one?
Well, if I don't know what the land. If there was a private organization, some family land trust that had millions of acres up there, or many of them up there, that had their property subject to a conservation easement. Is their property appraised at less?
Assessed?
Yeah, assessed at less value.
So if they have a large tract of land, like you're talking,
Yeah.
millions of acres, their property would probably be in tree growth, and their assessed value would stay at the tree growth rates.
Yeah. That's my next question, because do you know how much of the acreage in the UT is in tree growth? Anyone know the number?
7.5 million, give or take.
7.5
million.
75%?
So there's 10 million acres in all the UTs together, and 7.5 are in tree growth.
And the tree growth rate is uniform throughout the UT, right?
It's set by county, so it's
It's
different for each county. There are some counties but we break it down by mega regions. So you could share. I can't even think of which counties are the same. Like Franklin and Oxford may share the same tax rate. Somerset and
Do we determine the tree growth tax rate?
Maine Revenue does.
By county?
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And the largest areas, Aroostook, Somerset, and Piscataquis, all have the same tree growth values. It's roughly $100 an acre for softwood, $150 for mixed, and $200 for hardwood. It all varies out to be about $150 an acre. That's tree growth. And if those properties were not in tree growth, they would value for 3 times that.
Does anyone ever give thought to changing those numbers to reduce the tree growth tax rate, these major landholders up there?
Reduce the tax rate or increase the tax rate?
Well, increase the tax rate, reduce the tax benefit of tree growth.
Increase the taxable value?
Yeah.
Okay. So the tree growth rates are set by the stumpage values, so that's not something, it's, the information that's provided to Maine Revenue Services through the Department of Forestry.
Now, I noticed in this information that Tim prepared that it looks like, do holdings by the tribes, are they exempt from taxation?
If it's tribal properties, then yes, they're exempt from taxation.
Is that just in the UT, or is that?
I can only answer for the UT, I'm sorry.
I think, maybe I'm wrong with this, but I think, for example, the Penobscots pay real estate taxes in Carabasset Valley.
So they do pay property taxes if it's a non-tribal land.
What do you mean by non-tribal land?
It has to be designated as tribal land through the federal government.
So there's some land that's owned by the tribes in the UT that is tribal land and some that is not.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know how much, what the breakdown is?
I do not know that.
Many moving parts here, aren't there?
They've only got 25,000 tax accounts to keep track of.
Oh, but these are major, they look like major holdings. Just curious, really. Well, I guess I have other questions, but I don't think I understand them myself, so I won't try them out on you.
So there is an element of tree growth that I think the counties should pursue legislatively. Right now, the unorganized territory does not receive a state reimbursement for tree growth. Your town does. If you've got tree growth in your town, the state reimburses you for the lost taxes on tree growth. The state does not reimburse the unorganized territory for that.
That's a pretty big number.
It is a big number. And if they did that, it would reduce that state budget, thereby reducing property taxes. So that is something that has been suggested, and I believe Aroostook County is trying to put in a bill to that effect. So I think you're right. I think you're onto something with tree growth. It does need to be examined further. So, but I appreciate, Lisa. I didn't realize that Maine Revenue basically relied on stumpage reports to set that tree growth value. Okay, that's good to know. The other thing is payments in lieu of taxes. So right now on that list,
That was on my list. I was afraid of it.
that list in front of you has two highlighted areas. The first is the United States, the federal government. They provide a portion. So if you were to take their holdings of $23 million and multiply it by the mill rate, it's 170-some thousand. They pay a portion of that. I believe Dave keeps track of it, and the federal government pays about $22,000 to $23,000 in a payment in lieu of taxes. And I'm assuming they break that down by certain state parks or national parks or something like that.
Usually it's the Appalachian Trail.
Appalachian Trail.
We've heard a lot about the Nature Conservancy.
Really?
Did they
Okay.
recently?
So
Did they pay?
those reporters,
They have land they pay taxes on. They have land that is tax-free. I don't know what the differences are, but they do pay some tax.
But according to this, if you do the math of the holdings of the Nature Conservancy in the UT, what the mill rate or what the tax would be based on their $3.5 million of assessment works out to what they pay in the payment in lieu of taxes. So I suspect the Nature Conservancy has it worked out that they pay near the equivalent of what they would pay in taxes. Which leads me back to your assessment. Do these non or exempt properties, do they get assessed as well in your revaluation?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so
Yep.
those values were adjusted in your overall work. Good to know. So that's another thing that,
And that's the other thing that happens too, is that the values of the non-taxed property goes up, but it also brings up everybody else's assessment.
Right. So, in your papers that you always read, I'm sure, this is the national newspaper for
Yep.
the counties, on the front page, Capitol Hill meeting to push public lands funding. This is all about payments in lieu of taxes for federal holdings nationwide. So this is something that the Maine County Commissioners should be talking about as well. If we can petition the federal government to increase those payments in lieu of taxes, that's more revenue. So, I think that's all I've got to say.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you for your time. Do you have anything else to add for us?
I don't think I have anything else. You guys are good. We're good.
You're very enlightening. Thank you very much for your coming here and giving us a little lesson in taxation. And
You're welcome. If you come across any other questions, feel free to send them to Tim, and Tim has that
right,
contact
well,
information.
send them to Tim.
What's driving the big number of the education piece in the?
That's a question for Chip.
Different
Sorry. I do know that our budget went down, so.
I know the school transportation costs are very expensive.
I can speak to that later.
Oh, thanks.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
The beer garden open.
Sure.
All right, we're ready to discuss criteria for ATV access to county roads.
So you've heard last week, and some of you may have seen the email that Ben Toll, who is the head of the Moxie Lake ATV Club, has asked the county to open up that middle 3 miles of Lake Moxie Road for ATV access. But before we get to that, I wanted to just allow the commissioners to discuss the process. Commissioner Alsop provided some guidance. I had drafted an application, and the reason I keep coming back to this application is because regardless of who applies, it's nice to have the proper contact information, and it's nice to know specifically what township, what road, and how much of that road they are asking for. And so that's the reason I keep harping on the application. Because I suspect that this will not be the last request that comes before the commissioners in regards to ATV access. So the second sheet in your handout is a summary of the criteria that Commissioner Alsop had drafted, and then I kind of pulled some information over from DOT and some of the criteria they used. But basically, we've broken down this criteria into 3 sections: safety, need, and property owner impact. And I would say that I appreciated what Commissioner Alsop said in his draft of this idea, is that just like a tax abatement, the burden of proof is on the property owner that's asking for the abatement. So in this case, should the commissions consider that the burden of proof be on the ATV club? They're asking for this, so they should the burden of proof for why it's important be on the club. So under the category of safety, I talked a little bit about sight distance because that's a big deal for DOT. It's not very difficult to measure sight distance. Local road commissioners do it all the time when issuing driveway permits. So it's not a heavy lift in general.
Is that like how far you can see down the road from a particular point?
If the speed limit, if where you're entering the road, if your speed limit is 45 miles an hour, then you have to be able to see 425 feet from the trailhead or the driveway that you're pulling.
On the road.
You have to be able to see that way and see that way 400 feet.
Both ways.
So if it's 35 miles an hour, that drops to 300 feet. So that's sight distance. I think is an important factor, especially when you're on an ATV. The traffic has to be able to see you, right? Posted speed limits. I'll just note, and I think this is the case in the UT. You have no say over the speed limit. Speed limits on any road are set by the state. So if there was a concern about the speed limit on a particular road, you could request that DOT come out and do a speed study, and they will adjust the speed limit as they see fit.
Yeah, we can ask for adjustments.
Yeah. Is the road paved? What's the condition of the shoulders? Those are safety issues. If you have a road that does not have a paved shoulder, then you will anticipate that people will drive on the roadway with their ATVs. Because we do not want them on the gravel shoulder, because it will do damage to it, and it's not safe. So those are my thoughts on safety. I turn it to you to see what your purview is. What would you like to do?
Well, in the state rules and regulations for that, it's a 4-foot paved shoulder, or it's forbidden. So.
Well, no, it's not forbidden. It's either you drive on the 4-foot paved shoulder or the roadway or the travel lane. So you're not allowed on a shoulder, on a gravel shoulder.
Okay.
So.
I think the amount of existing traffic on the road is a huge factor that you have
Yeah.
listed here. And that sort of is sort of implicit in the question of is the road paved or not. But, and as Mr. Stimson
Yes.
mentioned, apparently that road, when we get to it, has a high degree of irresponsible motorized traffic on it. So, I mean, that would be a factor I would consider as well in the safety equation. So, I think there's sort of an element of if you know it when you see it. I mean, there's certain, and maybe, and again, just generally speaking, not just in this particular case, but I'm all for field visits. You know, when we're asked as a group to approve a questionable or on the bubble road, I think it might behoove us all to jump into the into the paddy wagon the sheriff has, and go up and look at it. I think it's really helpful to know what you're talking about. And so I think there's no finite list of things to consider in a safety issue, but we might find one more important than another given the particular case involved.
Is there a trail already being used other than the road?
Yes. In the packet, you should have a map. Did you give them the latest?
I didn't give the latest one. It was too big to print out. So.
Well,
I think.
It should have been 8 by 12. I mean, 8.5 by 11.
What I'd like to see is if you're able to print it on like one of those big county maps, we could have it up here when we have these discussions, and everybody could see it.
Okay. Well, yes, there's an existing trail, and there's maps for this one. One of them you have in your packet, and it uses a little bit of road on both ends of the paved road. Then it leaves to go to an ATV trail. And the ATV trail basically skips most of the road, but both ends connect to this ATV trail. And in the middle, or close to the middle, but it's in the county section, there's a trailhead that comes out to Seamoxigore Outfitters and crosses the road, or actually uses a section of the road, about 200 yards perhaps, to get to the Moxigore parking area for ATVs, for the falls. So people can take their ATV, they park it, they can walk down the falls. But most of the road is closed to ATVs. There's no use for it. ATV trail is a little bit longer route. Part of it's on a pretty decent gravel road, the Boise Road in the Forks. I think it's pretty decent for traveling on an ATV. So it's not the whole trail that's rough. There's only a section that they're trying to avoid. So we could put money into that and upgrade that section with TIF funds if that was a choice.
Isn't that sort of part of it?
So I just caution, let's not get into the specifics of this trail and this road, because you're talking about criteria that you want to use. So I think Commissioner Johnson's point is to the need. You know, what is the condition and the accessibility of existing trails? Right?
They exist.
And what are the locations of the nearest park and ride areas? Because that's a factor as well. if I'm a property owner up there and I have an ATV, what would I rather do? Would I rather drive down the road to an establishment, or would I have to put my ATV on a trailer, drive it to a parking space or a parking lot 2 miles away, and then get on the trail? So there's kind of the need and the convenience factor that goes into this.
Which kind of leads me back to the burden of persuasion here, because it seems to me that, I mean, if you try to plow through Title 12 and Title 29 on the interface of ATVs, motor vehicles, and roadways, it's very confusing. So, for example, if you're on an ATV access road, a paved road in town that the town has made accessible to ATVs, do you need to have a driver's license to drive your ATV on the road? I'm not really sure. Do the drunk driving laws apply to you as an ATV owner or to you as a motor vehicle driver? Do you have to have motor vehicle liability insurance when you drive your ATV on the road? I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions. I know it's confusing. So it's a kind of a big deal. And it also seems to me that the idea of an ATV is to go on trails. It's not to go on roads. If that was your concern, you would buy a nice pickup truck and drive up and down the road. So it just seems to me the burden of proof should lie with the ATV people to say there has to be a real special exception, a real genuine need to create what is the exception, not the rule, which is to allow an ATV on a road for the shortest amount of time possible in order for them to get from A to B, and not just open up a road to ATV travel sort of willy-nilly. A good hard look at it.
Whatever happened to ATVs being off-road?
Yeah.
I mean, the enjoyment of being off-road.
Well, isn't that the theory? And I think that's where we as a county, just generally speaking,
I'd rather
we like to spend money on snowmobile trails and groomers and ATV trails. Yeah, let's do it. I'm all for it. And it's not a problem, as far as I'm concerned.
So the third area of criteria is property owner impact. And just, you could simply determine how many year-round homes are on the proposed route and how many seasonal homes are on the proposed route. But ultimately, as part of your criteria, you really should hold a public hearing. That's the point where you gather this information and ask questions and determine how the criteria is met. So, any other conversation on the process?
I think it is a official agency action so that an aggrieved ATV club or person that we ruled against would be entitled to take an appeal. Is that possible? I don't know. I may have it through.
Yeah, I'd have to look at state statute.
Yeah.
So.
I think there may be some cases on it. I know when the town turns down, there might have been. The town turns down the ATV request. There may be some tolerance. I'm not sure. That's interesting from a procedural point of view.
Yeah.
So you should look at it.
So I guess my next question to the commissioners are you prepared to offer a public hearing on this particular topic on the Moxie Lake Road?
Well, I think
I'm not. I'd like to see John's questions answered about licensing, insurancing, all those things. And
we should
I'd
ask
also
the
like
DA
to
to
go
come
up,
down.
I'd also like to go and see the road itself, which I haven't done yet. And I would withhold any.
Well, do we have an official application in yet?
No, we don't. I haven't given Ben the application, but I did confirm by email that he would like the commissioners to consider that portion of Lake Moxie Road. So I think it's an interesting idea to try to schedule a trip up there.
Yeah.
Do we have to post it as a meeting if we all go to the same part?
Maybe going to separate times.
But then it's a meeting when we're there. I think we could certainly be honest of our intention to
Yeah.
go to the forks.
We'd want to post it as a meeting that we're going to be there.
So,
All the protests could join us.
So my understanding is that the approval by the assessors and the forks for the two ends of the road would be in effect for the 2026 season.
Right. We wrote the proposal for the entirety of the 2026 season as a probationary period, and just the ends of the road that the Forks has governance over. In particular, why it's important for the 2026 season is we've learned that next year the portion of road that is used to get to Boise Road won't be as relevant unless this is approved, because the trail will be rerouted into the new corridor and then come up the old Pine Road, which in years past has been the worst trail of the two sections. There's east of Boise Road and west of Boise Road. West of Boise Road down into the valley is the current troublesome trail. East of Boise Road down to the Moxie Lake Plain is actually a more troublesome trail that'll be, according to Ben, even more difficult to maintain, and it extends the amount of that trail to maintain that funnel trail by another mile or so. So I guess what I'm getting at is right now a large portion of that Moxie Lake end is already approved ATV access route. If this doesn't move forward, then that section will decrease. It'll be, what do you think that is, David, 100 yards from the boat ramp to the corridor?
Yeah, it's not too much.
Right. So the length of this troublesome trail will get longer, and the length of the currently used ATV access road that's already approved will get shorter.
So it seems like, from what I'm hearing, the commissioners are not ready to hold a public hearing at their next meeting.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
if you could communicate that to folks.
I sure can. Yeah.
I think that some folks are focused on the 15th of October
I've gathered that.
to
Yeah.
come. But,
Yeah.
and they'll certainly post it, and I believe that the commissioners will probably want a notice of a public hearing to be mailed to residents that have property on that proposed stretch. So I think it's something that will be tackled later this fall.
Not just residents, but landowners.
Right. Property.
All the property owners.
Yeah.
So I think we should wait for the application to come in,
Okay.
and then you should let us know, and we should try to organize what they call in the legal world as a view. And we will all go on a view of the proposed affected area, which you can arrange for us, and if everyone's up to that. And then when we've done our view, we can then have our hearing and take further evidence and hear from people, and then we'll have. That we won't. I mean, you could do the view afterwards, but I think it's better to do it before so over 20. And
Plus, you're coming into leaf peeping peak season, so.
We don't have any buildings up that way.
As a county, no.
I say you could have commissioners meeting.
I think we'd all stay on Mill Road. What reference is done?
Well, if we were going to do something like that, perhaps it would be best to do it on a meeting day before we had our meeting.
it's kind of a long haul up there.
It's
The county plane is available, so. Helicopter.
We'll get some drones to fly
From here,
over
it's
and
about
report
45
back.
minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes.
It's 35 minutes if there's no UT patrol that day.
Was there some sort of collateral thing? I saw somewhere about opening up the Troutdale Road for ATV use. Good. Am I just imagining that? Is that?
It's a private road, right?
I don't know if it's necessarily a private road. It's not town maintained, so I think it is maintained
That's
by
what
the
we don't have
association. And previously the trail was routed down the Troutdale Road to get onto the. Am I calling it right? The Pine Road, is that the old Pine Road?
I'm not sure what the road is.
The section east.
We got a hot house over there.
The section east of Boise Road you used to get to that by going on Troutdale Road, and that's because
That's not our neighborhood. We don't.
no,
Yeah, that's the plantation of the Forks.
right.
So the difficult trail that people are upset about, what makes it difficult?
Well, again, I'm not a recreational ATVer, so I can't speak kind of intuitively to that. I'm just speaking on the anecdotes I'm getting. Is that there's two things. There's loops that occur from between Greenville, Bingham, Jackman, Rockwood, right, and you get to that you get to the Lake Moxie boat ramp, which is at the east end of Lake Moxie Road, and you think you've made it into a town, like you're almost there, and then it is upwards of 45 minutes to an hour, and that's with a competent, skilled rider to get down to the services in the valley, whether that be to gas up at Barry's or to visit one of the restaurants in the town center, as much as the Forks, West Forks has a town center. It's any of those services. And it's, as the crow flies, and largely as that road runs, it's fewer than 5 miles, 4 point something, I believe. And so it deters people because of the condition of that road coming down the hill. When it's dry, it's dusty, and the fine particulates, erode away or dissipate. And then when it rains, all those fine particulates that dissipated disappear completely, and then it's bouldery. And it's just a treacherous section of trail that is really difficult to maintain because it is the only trail to get from the Forks, West Forks proper to the main trail system that can get you to all of those other destinations. It's the funnel trail. So any traffic from Northern Outdoors that wants to come up and come down into town, or traffic from Jackman that wants to come down into town. And from my perspective, there's been a lot of attention put on just folks out riding that want to stop in the Forks briefly. It deters folks from desiring to choose the Forks, West Forks as a week-long destination where they're going to home base their activities, because when they can go to Greenville and rent a place, a hotel, motel, Airbnb, and they know that they can start in town and ride to a variety of trail accesses on pavement and have varied directions that they can go every day, come back to their lodging in the evening, similarly in Jackman, similarly in Bingham. When they look at the Forks as an option, they know that no matter where they want to go when they leave the Forks and any of their lodging accommodations they have available to them there, they have to start and finish on this section of trail. And it largely deters people from choosing the Forks as a multi-day destination where they will park their vehicles, trailers, choose lodging, and ride from there. I think that's the bigger hit that we will feel as more people move toward this recreational activity and they choose where they're going to vacation to do that activity. Again, I haven't recreationally ATV'd since I was a kid. I focus more on snowmobiling these days, as little as we can, as little as we do now. So I'm just I'm speaking from the anecdotes I've been given from my neighbors, friends, customers, and the like. I think with it, Ben is a really competent guy, really knows his trail. He's a professional trail builder. He would probably much rather see the money come to fix that trail because it's his organization and his company that will be contracted to do it. But in his view, you're looking at $500,000 to get a road that is to get a trail that is routinely maintainable to keep up with that funnel traffic. They put a significant portion of their funds apparently go into this trail every year, and 30% of the way into the season it's destroyed again just because of the traffic it receives. So the hope is that just moving some of that traffic off the trail. There are plenty of people I've talked to your point, who are like, I'm not here. I don't want to ride on the road. Many people don't want to ride their machines on the road. It's bad on the tires. It overheats the machines. So, yeah.
So, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I probably went further than your initial question, but.
No, that's okay. I was just wondering why there wasn't another available route that could be maintained.
A big challenge is that the trail that goes up the Dead River is only a snowmobile trail. The Maine Hudson Trails territory and that whole section along the Dead River, where during the snowmobile season provides another way in and out of town to the north, is not accessible to the ATV community because of landowner restriction.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully quick question. As I see all of this, and we know the risk involved, the safety issues. Would it be good for the commissioners as a whole to decide to have somebody do risk assessment of these individual applications and road places? That would be, because, we can go out and we can look at something, but we're not people that deal with the traffic, the road, and everything else. So I'm thinking a risk assessment through the application process probably would be a good idea from my perspective. And it helps us to make the decisions in terms of whether we would go with these applications or we would not go with these applications based upon a professional risk assessment.
But I think it's a great idea. Could we get the state to do what they do for a county road? We can certainly ask. Yeah, we can inquire.
But the other part of that that you just triggered for me, Scott, is with the line of sight availability. I would think that would fall on the club to maintain that line of sight instead of the county paying for it, but the club would pay for that.
But it's the responsibility of the club to get a risk assessment done, or we do it. I just think it's something that would be a viable thing to do for lessen risk of liability to the county.
Well, yeah, and there's as far as line of sight, there's cost to that. I don't think that the county should bear that burden.
All right. Sounds like we got some follow-up to do.
Yeah.
Schedule.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. We'll move on to cybersecurity coverage.
So this shouldn't take long. I just need to get back to the commissioner's risk pool. So as you know, all the counties have a self-funded risk pool for insurance. That's who we pay our liability insurance for. A portion of our liability insurance, which this year was $319,000, so a portion of that covers cyber security in case we are hacked, held for ransom, have to pay Bitcoin, that sort of thing, which is a real situation that happened last year in Franklin County. So we, due to Franklin County's situation and circumstances, we all learned basically how the cybersecurity insurance coverage works. So right now, everybody pays into this coverage, and it is $1 million worth of coverage spread between all 16 counties per year. So if one county gets hit and has to pay $500,000, then that $500,000 is left to cover the rest of the counties. And it's a $50,000 deductible. So in Franklin County's case, their data was hacked and it was held for ransom. They negotiated from $250,000 of Bitcoin down to $85,000 in Bitcoin, and that's what they paid to get their stuff back. So the insurance covered $35,000, and Franklin County had to pay out $50,000 in that deductible. So the question that's before the risk pool right now is, do the counties want to increase their coverage? Do the counties want to look at an option of lower deductibles? And so now you have 16 different counties trying to figure out what's best. So I got from Malcolm Ulmer today what we pay for this coverage. And of our $319,000 for liability insurance, we pay $7,000 for this cybersecurity coverage. So here's my advice, but I need you to tell me what to tell Malcolm. My advice is leave it as it is. Don't raise it, don't lower it, don't change it. Leave it as a blanket coverage for all the counties in case. And if a particular county has a real concern, then they need to address their security. And if they want to, they can buy their own insurance in addition to what the risk pool covers. I'm not in favor of the risk pool, pandering to one county or another that we all have to pay into. So I had a chance to talk with Patrick and Pavel, and Pavel basically gave me the sheet that's in your packets there that talks about a lot of things that none of us really understand. But he makes it very clear that we have taken almost all the necessary steps. We do the dual authentication. We have upgraded firewalls. We have backups that are backed up every week. Every county employee now knows to get into their computer, either in-house or remotely, they have to have their phone with them because it's a dual authentication to get in. And what we're just starting now, Mabel has talked with Leanne about doing some training on cybersecurity, which is a lot of the training on what to do if you get an email that looks strange, that sort of thing, where people are trying to fish into your system. We need to do that annually. We need to add that one training to our annual required trainings that we have right now. And I would recommend that the commissioners take a look at the training too, because you all have county emails. I was told today that my email showed up on an email in Penobscot County that wasn't from me today. So it's always about having that. So I just need your feedback that I can give to Malcolm. Do you agree with me? do you think that we should leave it the way it is?
Yeah, I wouldn't change that.
I think we're fine as it is. If we were going to get extra coverage, we'd have to do that on our own. And I don't know how that would work, how that would mesh in with the existing coverage. If one would refuse because of the other one, and then the other one would refuse, what complications are there?
My understanding, and I don't know this for sure, but my understanding, I think Franklin did that. I think they went and got an additional coverage. So I can check with Franklin County to see what pitfalls they made.
Because what I would suggest to Malcolm, if we were so inclined to get extra coverage, is if Somerset County could get an extra rider through
Through the risk pool.
Through the risk pool.
Yeah. And that may be something you pay for individually.
Right.
Okay.
So that's how I would do that. Instead of having potentially competing insurances that may not play well together.
Gotcha. Well, that's all I need. Thank you.
All right. Good. No public hearings, new agenda items. Commissioners only. None.
I have one announcement.
Okay. Yes, sir.
This is my last day as a commissioner. I moved to Skowhegan. I went out of my district. So, by law, I have to relinquish my seat.
After too long, have you move in with him?
Only if I'm over long.
Well, that means I'll be able to get some sleep now, no late night gunfire.
He's going to be mowing your lawn and practicing shooting at the same time.
I know it's a nice shooting range out there.
Just sell them the year.
Yeah.
He's got the money.
Run him an acre. Don't even sell it to him. So,
That's all I have.
do you have, with this new piece of information, we have to do a caucus
Right, the caucus of District 2.
of this one too?
Plus the commissioners. So, Commissioner Johnson let me know about this a while ago, so I did check with the Secretary of State. I had them take a look at our charter. Our charter is a little vague on the November election, but obviously at this point there's no sense of trying to get anything done next month. So whoever fills this vacancy would have to do it for the remainder of the next year or so of the term, and then there would be an open election at that seat, which would be interesting because at that point in November of 26, 4 of the 5 election seats.
But that would be sort of a special election, wouldn't it, Tim? So if we got SIP seat, we'd have to run again in 2 years to get back on the.
Well, what
Gets confusing.
that you are correct. So that November 26 would be a 2-year term. Correct.
Right.
Thank you. So it gets you back on the staggered schedule. So what I recommend, and you tell me where I'm going here. What I recommend is that we communicate this to the municipalities in District 2 and let them know that there is a vacancy. And by charter, the commissioners are going to call a meeting of the municipal officers of each of those communities, and they will come and caucus. But also, before the caucus, it would probably behoove you to have some candidates. And so it's really not on Commissioner Johnson to find his replacement, but it's up to those municipal officers to put forth people. And of course, you can't be a selectman and a commissioner at the same time. But they would recommend people. Then once you had a slate of one or multiple people that were willing to fill the seat, then you would call the caucus together and they would decide who. So
But also at the caucus, a candidate could emerge.
that is true. I mean, I don't know the rules on caucuses, but I'm sure someone could throw their hat into the ring at the meeting.
Yes, I would think so.
You can't go to.
No.
I do not want.
I spoke with a couple of gentlemen that are interested
Okay.
in District 2.
Yeah. And so I think I can follow up with those people to see if they would want to put their name forward. Yeah.
Should this be a matter of public notice so that anybody who wants to contact their local municipal government?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it shouldn't all just be
Hush hush through the
hush hush through
through the selectmen. Right.
No, District 2 is going to be notified.
It's just District 2, people in District 2, but nonetheless, those towns and townships and unorganized territories in District 2, and big district, we're not just talking a few towns.
Right.
We're talking the west side of,
We'll have to organize a retirement party too. And
that's right.
this time we can all say, yes, I'm going to say right now that this is shocking news for me, and I will miss you.
Shocking and
Sorry
disappointing.
when you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've had a long and distinguished career here, and it's very good. So.
Yeah.
So why Scally?
I didn't hear that.
So, but why Scally?
I own
I
property.
figured you. Well, I figured you'd do Florida.
No.
Go eat yourself.
You want to move south, but not quite that far.
So technically, this announcement came during new agenda items, but I don't think there's a need to vote on anything.
No.
No.
Hold on, no.
Maybe the next one.
We voted can't move.
Right? We deny it.
No,
There's all kinds of deer out there. Why don't you just build your stuff on it and get some winning?
Behind that. No, fine.
Moving along to administrators report.
So I've been on the property tax tour. You know, I was up in Rockwood with the folks from Maine Revenue a few weeks ago. The town of Madison had a selectmen's meeting a week ago Monday, and I met with folks there just to kind of help get a greater understanding of the tax bills and so forth. And it's happening everywhere. I mean, everybody's valuations are going up, and taxes are being shifted, and in cases where the tax bills go up, and in the case of Madison, their portion of the county bill went up $100,000. So that had everything to do with their valuation change rather than the county budget, which stayed flat. So I was kind of explaining that. Yesterday, I was invited to the legislature to speak to the task force on property tax relief. That's about a half a dozen legislators and several folks from the private sector, some folks from Maine Revenue, tax assessors. I thought it was a pretty robust task force. They asked a lot of good questions. They spent 7 hours together yesterday hearing from Maine Municipal. I was there to speak a little bit about the unorganized territory, but I took the opportunity to speak quite a bit about county budgets and the impact of the state not funding jails and how that impacts the property tax payer. So it was good. It was a good audience, and I hope I will invite myself back for more of their meetings, just so that they understand county government. And what really is fascinating is there was just comments throughout the day of the county is a mystery. What does the county do? I believe I was able to answer a lot of those questions. And there was this angst that when town offices get their bill from the county, it's kind of a surprise, right? And they say, we had no say in this. And I had to clarify to the legislature that every county by statute has a budget committee that's made up of municipal representatives. So every town has a say in that county budget. You hold public meetings. And 7 out of the 16 counties, the budget advisory committee, they have veto power. Our budget committee has veto power. So to say that towns really have no say in the county budget is kind of disingenuous. And so, but we were able to clarify. There was one legislator there who's the co-chair of the task force, and she was very interested in hearing more about how the state and the towns and the counties can partner together to provide resources. Cumberland County provides some assessing resources for their towns. Lincoln County provides animal control for their towns. I don't want to say that too loudly in Somerset. And we have partnered with KBCOG to offer regional code enforcement. So I think the legislators and the members of the task force were very pleased to hear about these efforts, and they'd like to see more efforts in that regard. So
Lincoln County also does recycling. They've been doing county recycling for years.
yeah. So I thought that was worthwhile, and I hope to participate more. In your packets, I put something together to let you know that SEDC and Liz and Christian are offering fraud awareness meetings. They're scheduled throughout the month of October in Fairfield, Skowhegan, Pittsfield, and Madison, where people can go and learn more about scams, cyber frauds, and that sort of thing.
How-to meeting?
That's a how-to meeting. That's right. You trained on how to scam somebody's emails. Right? I'm glad you're thinking of the right direction. So Maine Municipal, their convention is next week in Bangor on Wednesday and Thursday. Several of us from the county are going. I think they've got a good slate of trainings available next week. And on your desks, I put your Spirit of America recipients this year. So next meeting on the 15th is our Spirit of America recognition night. Good turnout of towns, 22 towns there in Somerset, honoring a total of about 27 people. So I think it's great that Rochelle does a lot of the legwork on this, getting it organized and inviting people. So I hope it'll be usually is a very good turnout. So I just make you aware of that. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Finance reporting.
We're wrapping up the FY 2025 audit. They gave me an estimate of first draft on October 15th, so we'll see if I get the first draft in. If I get the first draft by the 15th, we should have everything finalized by the end of October, hopefully. So hopefully we'll have the FY 2025 audit completed end of October. When it comes to FY 2026, we're still going along fine. I have no major concerns when it comes to the general fund at the current time. The jail fund is still favorable, but when it comes to revenue, it looks like we're probably going to have a shortfall in revenue for the jail. We're running behind schedule or number of inmates when it comes to the federal inmates. We budgeted 35 inmates, per day for the federal. We're running roughly at 30 inmates per day. And when it comes to other county boarding, we are running roughly 20 inmates per day, and we budgeted about 35 inmates per day. If that stays consistent throughout the year, that's going to be about a $500,000 shortfall. But on the other side of things, the labor is favorable and is trending to cover that. So we're still in line when it comes to the budget. We're just going to have a shortfall on the revenue side, and the savings on the labor side will cover it.
To what do we attribute this lack of orders in the jail?
I do not know.
We've been working with counties, if they have an overflow of population, if we have the room, we're taking them. So,
Just fewer people in custody.
right, so the feds, they'll run through cycles, and right now we're down, as he said, we're running around an average, I would say 31, but we did budget for 35.
And the state is going to be a wash, but their nominal, if you want to say payments, are actually going to be roughly $200,000 lower than what's on budget. But there is some type of a supplemental payment. Tim can better answer that question, but they're basically going to offset, so the state will be balanced.
This is the one thing we've been trying to help at the Professional Standards Committee, because those of us that are on the July 1st fiscal budget, we anticipate our jail revenues that are distributed by the state. We anticipate that in February, right? Well, the state doesn't calculate the formula till July. And so if we're guessing that we're going to get $1.2 million from the state, by the time they do the formula, which is based on the county of origin, in other words, the county in which an individual was arrested, so it doesn't have anything to do with your population, it has to do with, so obviously Penobscot, Cumberland, larger counties have more arrests, and so they get a larger share of that pie. But we don't know how our number's going to go up or down until July. And so we're trying to get the state to, change the way they do that, so that we'll have a better idea. But yeah, we were one of the losing counties this year. We were down 200,000. Aroostook was down 300,000. But it's all the same pot of money. It just gets distributed a little different every year.
And remember, the state has flat funded us for the last 2 years.
4 years.
4, yeah.
Yeah, 4 years.
Last 2 budget cycles.
Yes, 2 budget cycles, 4 years. That is correct. And our costs, our medical, our food, our labor costs still continue to go up.
All set?
Yeah.
I'll segue into the sheriff.
Been quite busy. Law enforcement right now is participating in training in Central Square, which is going to be our new records management system. This past weekend, we had a deputy off duty involved in a motorcycle crash. I anticipate he's going to be out for a lengthy time. The parking lot at the jail and the striping has been completed. We are at staffing level 34. We're budgeted for 36, but we have several applicants there. Last week I attended a meeting with the select people of Palmyra, St. Albans, and Hartley to talk about public safety. And all our Tahoes are in. We just now is a waiting game to get them outfitted.
I will add to that, especially the select boards of St. Albans, Palmyra, and Heartland. Chris Littlefield is the town manager in Heartland. He and I know each other quite a ways back. He reached out last week after the sheriff met with some of those representatives. They are thinking about requesting a meeting with you as commissioners. So that will have to be kind of a special meeting, maybe a meeting that's scheduled afterwards, because it has to be coordinated so everybody posts it, because you'll probably have 3 selectmen from each of those towns and you together. So we haven't settled on a date yet, but I just kind of throw that out there so you'll be aware of it. They want to talk about policing and coverage.
Good. Well, I'd like to hear that. That's a good conversation. All set?
Yes, sir.
All right. David?
Been busy basically in the Rockwood area. At the last meeting we had up there on property tax, we actually did get volunteered to become registrar voters. Prior to that, I was going to have to send all the voters there to the Moose River. It's a 25-mile drive at least. So that's good. She's already gone through training. I've ordered a laptop for her and a printer with Pavel, and I'll be taking those up to her as soon as those come in, so voting looks good. We have the ash pile at the transfer station sampled. Went up with an excavator, dug a bunch of pit holes, and we had an environmental engineer that was sampling, so that's just, we're waiting on the results of the tests. The retaining wall up there, which actually had partially collapsed, now one side had fully collapsed, we are going to be having all of them either totally replaced or reinforced with concrete later this month. We're getting the materials delivered up there, or actually we have to pick up the materials and transfer those up there. And the 2027 UP budget has been started. I caught up with Lisa Wynot. I was waiting for the property growth factor from her, and she hasn't started it yet. So she's a little bit behind because of all the time she's spending answering questions on the valuations.
Right.
So things are going pretty well right now.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike, next. So I was wondering if there's any questions. Mike?
We've been trying to do quite a bit of public outreach. Last week there was a presentation in Smithfield kind of focusing on the changing tides of FEMA and what that potentially could look like in the future. Trying to bring towns on board to begin to realize that we're going back to the old mantra of disasters begin and end at the local level. So not to expect FEMA to come riding on the white horses to save us, because that probably is not a reality, at least at the current stage that they're at. The FEMA Council that was appointed by the President to review FEMA's functions, I believe their report is due out sometime around the end of November, and their mantra in most of their meetings have been the same thing as I just said: disasters begin and end at the local level. So I think we're going to see a lot. I think I'm cautiously optimistic. We're probably going to see a lot less public assistance and private and individual assistance coming in the near future for disasters that are happening. We met with the selectmen in Anson last week to go over, and Superintendent from Carabec to go over the possibility of some shelter in that area, and we're scheduling another meeting to take a look at setting up a shelter plan after a review of the school, and then pre-position cots and blankets for them to have. We currently have cots and blankets pre-positioned in at least 8 municipalities, and they're not huge supplies. What we've been trying to do is to put 10 to 15 cots and the same number of blankets at least in a municipality, because if something happens, we are 2 people in the office and probably won't be able to have time to deliver those. And we found in the last storm we were cut off from quite a few people being available to get to us to get cots and blankets. So at least if they've got something to start with, it will help. Follow up on what Tim said about Chris Littlefield. He actually was at the meeting in Smithfield last week, and then approached Sarah after the meeting was done about potentially getting together to discuss emergency management, that same group of towns that he's looking to discuss public safety. And so I know he's trying to look at a more regional approach over there, and hopefully that works out for them. That's kind of what we've been trying to say, even cross-county regional approach, to try to get things going. The last thing I'll touch on is grants. So the Homeland Security grant and the Emergency Management Program grant, which is the reimbursement on our budget. That's that revenue that comes in. Both of those applications were submitted. MEMA submitted an application to FEMA for the Homeland Security grant. Over the weekend, either Friday or Saturday of last week, they received notification that the grant had been approved, and both grants, the EMPG and the Homeland Security grant, had been approved. However, they were both completely unavailable in their entirety. Yesterday was good. This morning they received an email that they have rescinded all of the Homeland Security grant offers, and they'll come back with further information. So we have no idea what rescinding the offer means. I think it's attached to the lawsuit that had to do with the immigration stance, and I think that's what's holding it back now. So I'd like to tell you that we have some money coming in, but I'm not even sure that we're going to see anything at this point. So I'll keep you posted as we get there.
Thank you.
Mike, it may be worth touching on the vehicle?
Oh, sure, we can do that right now. Yep. Are there any questions on the RFP for the EMA vehicle? That was put into the budget this year to begin payment out of the budget back to the county in January. So we were just looking to go out to RFP now to be kind of on that timeline to have the vehicle by hopefully January.
John?
Being the tight-fisted commissioner that I am, it seems like the vehicle we have is pretty healthy. What, 5 years old, has 50,000 miles on it, it's a four-wheel drive?
It's coming. We purchased in December of 18, so it'll be 7 years old in December for us.
It has 50,000 miles.
Yep. The previous vehicle when we traded it had considerably more mileage than this one, Commissioner. However, this vehicle went through COVID. There were no meetings, everything was shut down, we weren't doing exercises, we weren't doing training, we weren't doing anything. And I think you'll find that probably at least half to three-quarters of those miles have been put on since COVID was done.
And what is the day-to-day use of this vehicle?
It depends upon what's going on, whether there's trainings, meetings, exercises. That's
Is it assigned to any particular individual? Or?
me, the director. Yeah. But it's available to the deputy director. If she's going to a training and she's going to be out of town, she takes it with her to go to that. So we're not incurring the mileage costs that we would incur from employees using their own personal vehicles.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Well, so I have no recollection. We did budget a new vehicle this year.
So Mike can probably explain this further. It's taken me a year or two to grasp it. So back in 2018, because they could receive reimbursements from MEMA, it benefited the EMA department to have costs that could be reimbursed. And that's no longer the case. So back then what they did was they went out and bought a vehicle for $50,000. And the account, the reserve account for EMA vehicles, they make a payment toward that account each year. And the thing that got me off track is it was called a lease. They leased it from the county and made payments on it. So basically, in their budget, there is a portion that goes towards paying into this vehicle reserve account. And so that vehicle reserve account has $50,000 in it right now. So they have enough money to go out and do an RFP and consider trade values and that sort of thing to upgrade that vehicle. But it's not the same as we do for jail capital and sheriff's capital or even Dave's capital to buy a vehicle. It was done a little bit differently. But so moving forward, you look at it like, okay, we have this capital account for vehicles for EMA that has $50,000 in it. So that's what they're using to purchase a new one.
Yeah, that was actually the third time that lease purchase had gone through. There had been an expedition that was in 2012. There had been a pickup truck prior to that. I don't remember the year on it. But so that had been. It had always been the commissioners purchased the vehicle, or the county purchased the vehicle, and then EMA lease purchased it back from them because that way we could put it in under reimbursement. Right.
And are we looking at a future that might we have less money coming in from the federal government, that somehow we might need to use this capital account for vehicle for other purposes, or is this I'm just suggesting that. I guess we can have an RFP and find out how much it's going to cost.
Yep.
This is not necessarily to say we shouldn't have an RFP, but I'm an RFP. But in these uncertain times, would it be prudent to defer this for a year to see what's going to happen? Who knows? So I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, it's kind of the conversation, Commissioner, that we had at MEMA the other day with them is, they're still funding positions at MEMA based on grant money, on grant dollars that are coming in. The MIAC, which is a division of the state police, is actually getting Homeland Security dollars to finance multiple positions. So if that money goes away, those positions need to be funded. So that's kind of the same discussion that we had. I mean, I think we can roll the dice any way you want to say whether grant money is going to go away or it isn't going to go away or what's going to happen to it. It has reduced over the last few years as far as the EMPG money goes. Homeland Security has stayed pretty steady. It did go down this year, but I don't think this is a year that I can tell you what's going to happen. Next week.
Agreed.
All set? Moving forward. There's no unfinished business. New business, Resolution 25-166, to authorize an RFP for a vehicle for Somerset Emergency Management.
So moved. I'll second it. I'd like to see what a new vehicle would cost, but I would reserve the right to reject all bids and just keep what we have for another year.
We always have that option.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Resolution 25-167, to pay the following award from Community Benefit Funds for completion of matching grant projects. Heartland Historical Society Building and Repairs for $15,000. KV Cog Code Enforcement Software for $15,000.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor? To go? Resolution 25-168, to authorize the hiring of Natasha Gallant as Corrections Officer for Somerset County Jail.
Hey.
Discussion? All in favor? To go? Warrants, Resolution 25-169, to approve the Treasurer's warrant for General Fund, Somerset County Jail, Unorganized Territories, and TIF Community Benefit for a total amount of $657,322.45. Discussion? All in favor? To go. Miscellaneous discussion items? What are we going to do about SIP?
I would just take this opportunity to state that you have a caucus, you have an ATV trip, you have a potential special meeting with 3 towns about policing, and Dave has to present the first draft of his UT budget by the first meeting in November. So for the 3 of you, plus Commissioner Stetkis, there's a lot going on this fall. So you'll be getting lots of emails and reminders, so I'm just telling you there's a lot coming. So.
Oh, great. Thank you. I think our first order of business, though, is to organize the caucus.
Yes.
So. We should have that caucus at the same time we have the meeting with the selectmen about policing. They'll all get together.
Wrong district. Wrong district.
That's true. Any other miscellaneous?
I have nothing.
I have nothing. Recess to execute documents.
Good luck to you.
I appreciate it. It's exciting time. I assume you'll communicate with Ben when before meeting will be. So if you don't mind including the town of Forks in that communication, that'll come by my radar. Office hat. Targets all of us, or all of the assessors are just the same as Charles. It's just first, second, third.
Can you get on that? Is it too late?
I would be third assessor. But we have a pretty outstanding clerk.
I wonder if
The office at theforksplt.org. That way we can communicate it forward. Appreciate your time.
I don't know if there's anybody in town that can qualify.
Question regarding the town of St. Albans and they're putting into place, which was voted on by the town, regulations for roads or legal marijuana. The operation on the Melody Lane Road, which is a swing, but they want to be exempt from what the town's required. I have encouraged town editor not to allow that. It is. Does that put it in a situation that's not allowed for pursuit of trying to get something done? Because
So the town, as I understand it, so the state can do like 6 hours. And the town can't make a law that's stronger than the city. So if there was a building ordinance, I don't know how it would go, but it would have to be pursued by the town in a civil, sort of like Madison did with,
For his trips.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant from the house.
If we really have this for
4 different. We put this in on the town on audit, and then now there's regulations in terms of the town as to what you have to adhere to have.
And I hope that wasn't but
I don't know if they can actually enforce would this be new businesses going forward, businesses already established?
It's required for existing and or new business. So my other thing is that on 4 different occasions, often that road where that intersection was crossed to the square road, the cargo van that they're using to haul that would almost take it. I think 4 or 5 different things.
Yeah.
My son was one of them.
I did. We ought to,
3 or 4 others had
maybe
reported that. That just flies off of that road.
DA's office to provide us with information.
So I don't know. I mean, it just frustrates me. You know, I think the Denver road is bad operation. Then,
Because they
okay, but anyway, that's to the
He owned, his mother and father
With what the town
owned
has set in
Backroad
place.
Boardwalk, right next to
Can
where
they deny that exemption?
I had a bus on there.
What the town requires for these
He
roads,
was always able to hunt it. I heard him die.
if they're like.
We had twice, it's really, he doesn't want anybody else. The building station, I have a double appreciation down the road field, all that, and I have.
So, I just get all concerned, I get called up. And I don't know what they've been like, the road.
I don't need it really, no.
So
He's been a long while. I'm gonna let him, I don't myself. He takes my two, his 2 nephews,
Yeah.
50, and I don't blame him. They take him up and I'm worried about people.
Think about things that you're getting ready for.
The next lot up from my road is,
Oh,
I
yeah.
get,
I know.
and then, filter.
Yeah, that's a big car, Mike.
Dan Paul. I mean, I got more acreage.
Yeah.
The other one.
How's your wood operation?
I went out there today.
Pretty slow. I actually got my 4-foot splitter out yesterday.
Under my elbow. Under my elbow.
No, I did not see that.
Make sure that
Hopefully tomorrow, Ron.
I don't
see you, Ron.
Speaking of you,
So he's gonna
I got one ranch, 2 bedroom.
probably did. He used to work at the John Deere place.
Yes.
everybody just needs
Well,
it.
I want,
Very, very, very